Have you seen the Spellbinders Merry Moments holiday kit? It has everything you need to make at least 25 cards. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in this video, I'll be sharing very quick cards. 5 minutes or less to pull these cards together. The kit has everything you need, from adhesive to embellishments to card bases and envelopes. The only thing you need to add is, if you want to use the stamp set, you'll have to add some ink or embossing ink and embossing powder. But there's cardstock and pattern paper and all the goodies to make a whole bunch of cards. So let's unbox this kit and take a look at what's inside. The Spellbinders Merry Moments kit comes in this beautiful box which will hold your kit supplies, or it would be a great gift to give to a friend, a crafty friend who maybe hasn't tried card making before. There's a stamp set and there are chipboard stickers. Now you'll see that some of my sheets are very empty. That's because I've already used them to create a card and a mini albums, and we still have plenty for 10 cards or more. So these are self-adhesive wax seals. If you haven't gotten into wax seals yet, this is a great way to just peel and stick. There are also puffy stickers and clear stickers and paper stickers or cardstock stickers. We've got labels, we've got sentiments, we've got all kinds of options here. Plenty of adhesive as well. There are foam dots and a roll of double-sided adhesive. There's also a bag of beautiful sequins. There's tons of cardstock in this kit. Now, they all were 8.5 by 11, but I did, like I said, make a mini album ready, so I've cut some down. There's also foil cardstock. Absolutely beautiful foil cardstock, different colors of cardstock that will match with everything else in the kit. That's why it's so nice to have a kit, because you don't have to worry about coordinating colors. Everything in this kit will go together perfectly. There is also a sheet that has card ideas and contents labeled. Also included are 13 A2 card bases. These are those side folding card bases, as well as 13 envelopes and 12 5x7 card bases and 12 5x7 envelopes. There's a ton of die cuts. The die cuts are either the shapes or the sentiments, and there's tons of options in there. There's also a 6x6 pattern paper pad. There are 40 sheets of pattern paper in here, and some have that gold finishing to them. So absolutely beautiful options. So here's everything that's still left in my kit after I made that mini album. I like to cut the 8.5 by 11 sheets down in half. So I have one that I cut then in half again to make an A2, and the other one I keep longer to make 5x7s if I want to. So here's all the colors that I have to create with today. Now let's use this kit to make 10 cards. Yes, 10 cards that are all made within 5 minutes or less. When I have a kit like this, the first thing I like to do is go through the pattern paper, pick out a favorite color or pattern, and then cut that down to 4 by 5.25 and mat it on some coordinating cardstock from the kit. Then I just go to town with some die cuts. This die cut fits perfectly in the center. I love the look of the craft in white with the red and white, and then just a pop of gold and a pop of green to really make it stand out. I have that little flower, the little holly. That's just a couple of die cuts, pattern paper, and cardstock. Boom, you're done. So let's do that again, but with some different embellishments. I'll cut the pattern paper down to 4 by 5.25. This is a really easy way to use your pattern paper as sort of the base of the card, but then have that mat around the outside, which creates such a nice finished look. So I really love doing this and recreating it again and again. This time, let's take one of the chipboard stickers. This is a chipboard frame. It's got rounded corners and green and kind of off-white stripes. Then I added a die cut sentiment in the middle that says Happy Holidays, and a couple of foam stickers on opposite corners of that chipboard frame. So you can see that I used a little bit of adhesive on both edges of that sentiment die cut so I could adhere it to the frame itself, and then added another little die cut on top that's a present, and I have a little flag and just a couple of smaller die cuts. These have a little bit of gold accents to them, so I added another gold accents to the flag at the top. So gold in several areas, and just that pink is so beautiful for Christmas. Another fun Christmas color combination is that red, white, and black. It's a little bit different, but I really like the way it looks. So for this one, pattern paper on top of black cardstock, matted, and then just a die cut sentiment and a little flower on top of that. Easy peasy, has a really nice effect though. For my other favorite way to use pattern paper is to create kind of a block of the pattern paper and then leave a block of the cardstock. So I cut both down to 4¼ by 5½, and then just use some of the pattern paper, don't use the whole thing. This way you have this open space at the top, which is really great for your sentiment, like I've done here, and you can add stickers to the border in between and a little chipboard sticker as an accent. So let's do that one again. Now we've done a couple of the pattern papers with the cardstock mat. Now we'll do a few of these where it's a chunk of pattern paper on the A2 piece of cardstock. And I vary the dimensions of that, so the height of the pattern paper will vary, but you can see it's about the same. This time I cut both the cardstock and that pattern paper down to 4 by 5¼ This way I could mat both of those on a white piece of cardstock. Again, just that nice finished edge in the back. Then a big die cut as the element and a die cut as the sentiment, and then a few dots of glue so I can add a few sequins, and that's just to add a little bit of dimension and shine. Those foam dots that are included in this kit, they add plenty of dimension behind die cuts, but it's always nice to add a little bit of shine for holiday cards as well, especially ones whose sentiment says sparkle and shine. So I added some to the ornaments and some sprinkled around just to add a little touch of that shimmer to those ornaments, and I love the way they look. Let's now use 2 chunks of pattern paper. So everything is getting cut down to 4 by 5¼ and then once I have that, I'll decide between which one is going to be more and which one is going to be a little bit less. So I have the red with the little dots. That's a pretty basic look. This one's a little more busy, so I'm going to have a little bit less of that. So I have an A2 piece of the foil cardstock. Then I have that red pattern paper. It's 4 by 5¼ And then I have that other pattern paper that's a little busier. It's just a small chunk on the bottom, and I'll have the mat of the gold foil anyway around that as well. This was a nice long die cut. It happened to fit perfectly across this here. So that's my sentiment. And then a large die cut at the top for a really pretty gold snowflake. Then I used one of those wax seals kind of in a diagonal to the snowflake, and then I'll add diagonal up from the snowflake some of those sequins. So you can see how your eye kind of moves around this card because of where everything is positioned and the balance of the 2 pattern papers. One of my favorite things to do in a kit, and if you've seen me use kits before, you already know what I'm going to say, is a sort of grid. Now, it's not a perfect grid because I'm putting the sentiment right in the center here, but everything will kind of go in a grid around that sentiment. And I usually use a mix of die cuts and stickers and chipboard stickers. I really just love the way that looks on a white background, and the craft mat around it really does finish it off perfectly, and a couple of little chipboard buttons around the sentiment as well. Another fun thing that you can do when you have a mix of pattern paper and cardstock is create a band. So this cardstock is the perfect color to match with this pattern paper. It really stands out well. The pattern paper itself was a little busy on its own, so a band kind of draws your eye right to the center of the card, which is where I just put the die cut, which is a sentiment. And then I'll add just a couple of little chipboard stickers, which are these nutcrackers on either side to finish it off. You don't need more than that because that pattern paper is so much fun. For a more basic pattern paper, you can have a little bit more fun creating clusters or lots of little goodies layered on top of each other. So I'll start with a tag here. That's a good base to put stuff on. And then I'll add one of the sort of floral groupings of die cuts, and it's got some pine needles and some poinsettias and things like that. And then I'll add on top of that a sentiment. Now, these foam squares are made from a whole piece of basically foam square. So if you run out of the pop dots themselves, you can cut up everything that's around them to create either smaller pieces or longer pieces, depending on what you're using here. And I'll add a die cut at the bottom just to sort of finish off that right-hand side, which is where the eye is focused. This time I'm going back to the beginning to do a 4 by 5¼ piece of pattern paper on an A2 piece of cardstock. But again, I'll use a big die cut in the center because, again, the pattern paper is a little busy, so I want something solid in the center, and that big postcard die cut is perfect. I do want to add a little bit more color to it though, so I'll add a couple of die cuts here and there and some stickers just to add a little bit of interest right in the center of that postcard. And then a flag with one little sparkle on the top there is the way to sort of finish off this card and make it really stand out, even though you're just sticking things down to it. I do have a bonus card for you. This is card number 11 actually, but what I wanted to do here was just recreate a card that was on the sheet that comes inside the kit. So I didn't want to call that one of my cards, but you know that they include those so that you can copy them, right? So don't feel bad if you copy the cards with the instruction sheet or the idea sheet that comes in the kit. They're made to show you how you can use some of these elements in the kit. So I really loved how they used these chipboard stickers. It's the different days between December 1st and 12th with all of the elements from the song from the Partridge in the Pear Tree. So you put them all on a red piece of cardstock from the kit. And then before I adhered it down to the pattern paper that they used as well, I did decide to add a little bit of gold thread around that and tie it in a bow. And I just love the way that looks. And once that was done, I have a 5 by 7 piece of off-white cardstock, and I'm stamping the Season's Greetings stamp right at the bottom of that, and then heat embossing it. I'm using some Hero Arts gold glitter embossing powder. And I love how this card came out, and I was so happy that they gave us the idea to create this. I hope you can see that whether you're an advanced card maker or a beginning card maker, or you're somewhere in between, this kit kind of has everything you need to make a whole bunch of holiday cards. Be sure to look down below. I'll be linking all of the supplies that I used today in the YouTube description box under the video. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.